My name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today I want to talk about data privacy and cookies. There is a lot of litigation going on around the world about cookies and how companies deposit cookies on individuals' computers and what is being done with the data that is exchanged between individuals' computer and companies on the internet. I wanted to explain cookies and what they are and how they work, just to get a base understanding. So cookies are text files that get deposited on someone's computer when they're browsing certain websites on the internet. The original purpose for cookies were to be used as helping create settings or create ways that help individuals as they navigate through websites with a bit less friction. So for example, let's say you visit a website, you want to view it in dark mode and they have that as an option. The company would install a company would install a cookie on someone's computer, and it would tell them the next time that you visited that website that you wanted to view it in dark mode. Another example of how cookies are used are things like in first-party relationships. So let's say you're a consumer and you're doing with a business and they want to put a cookie on your computer, let's say in a banking app or a banking application. If you go to their website, you can say save my username or save my password, so then the next time you go to that site, you don't have to type in your username or your password. So a cookie will get deposited that actually has that setting information, and especially for banking, typically that's like an encrypted data exchange so that people can't infiltrate your information or see it as the transaction is actually happening. If you were to go into a private browser and look at your same banking application on the internet, it would treat you like you were a stranger. So that's really what the original purpose of cookies have been. So there are three types of cookies in general. One is considered a permanent cookie or a first-party cookie. So that is a type of cookie, as I talked about, that does things like settings or authentication for first-party data exchange between the computer and the company. The second type of cookie is a session cookie, which is a little bit different from a permanent cookie or first-party cookie because it's really meant to only follow you through the session, and it is supposed to delete itself after the session. There's maybe an exception to this a bit, and this has to do with shopping carts. So let's say you visit a website, you go put things in a shopping cart, you close the website down, come back a couple of hours later, and then the things that were in your shopping cart before are still there, and that's because they know that you had the stuff in the shopping cart and they're saving that information, and that part of that setting is a cookie for session information. So after you transact your business and clear out your shopping cart, those session cookies are supposed to disappear. Then we have third-party cookies. So third-party cookies tend to be for advertising, and there's nothing that an individual needs to do on a computer for a third-party cookie to drop on their computer. We do see now a lot of cookie banners where they're asking for your consent for different types of cookies, and third-party cookie is a major one that's very controversial. So third-party cookies can drop on your computer. They can kind of watch your browsing in terms of how you're buying things or looking at things on the internet, and unfortunately build profiles on individuals as a result of that browsing. So a lot of litigation that's happening around the world around cookies is really about third-party data transfer without consent of the individual. Two things to remember about cookies are that cookies are a mode of transportation. So getting rid of cookies doesn't mean necessarily that you would get rid of this third-party data sharing, because it doesn't really necessarily require cookies. There are other ways to be able to do that data sharing without cookies. And then also, not all cookies are bad. So some are essential or something that you want to have on your computer so that it can help you maneuver through the internet well, but not all cookies are bad. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen with a lot of this litigation. I feel like a lot of it is centered around the dropping of cookies on your computer, where I think the focus, or I hope the focus, should be more on third-party data sharing without the consent of the individual. That's it. Thank you.